I am the director of STEAMPunks EDU. I'm an educator. I've been responsible for startups, and I'm also the co-host of the VR podcast. I want to emphasize that I have no real formal training in AR or VR. I'm pretty much self-taught, and I would consider myself entry level compared to industry leaders and developers such as yourselves. But the way I'm using it is what I'm here to talk about today. So I have within my STEAMPunks company, I teach immersive technology classes. If you'll go to the next slide. To K through 8. The photo on the left first reaction. So I staged it, kind of sitting there. They all have their headsets on and they can't look at each other. And I say, all right, make a face that would show how you felt the first time you entered a VR environment. Every single one of them had the, mouth open wide, gaping look, because essentially, kids especially, when you go into VR for the first time, you're kind of blown away by this new world you get to go into. The picture on the left is actually them in Rumi. Keynote with me. So in addition to Rumi, I've also used a ton of Oculus Go apps, CoSpaces EDU, ThingLink, Merge Cubes, and have spent a good bit of my time sharing resources with other educators. Next slide, please. So one of my favorite student projects was having them create augmented comic books on superhero elements with the periodic table. They made costumes, they took photos, they created comic book panels in the comic book app on their phones or tablets, and then they made videos that seemed to spring to action from the photos and overlaid them on the print copy. So we lined a whole hallway up with these comic book panels, and the videos that they made, you could go and scan it with the HP Reveal app. To how I approached my book Teaching Land. If you take me to the next slide. So in 2018, I kind of was approached with the opportunity to write a book. It kind of emerged, truly happenstance, and I got to work with the fun theme of zombies, and I played kind of off of Zombieland. So Teaching Land, a teacher's survival guide to the classroom apocalypse, is my book that's actually in final layout and going to print any day now. And also my kids' book that's kind of a partner book for Teaching Land is coming out at the end of June. So with Teaching Land is a tongue-in-cheek pop culture comic, or just a zombie theme. The chapter intro kind of segues, it pulls a metaphor from, let's say, like iZombie. Like, she eats the brains of dead people in the morgue, and that helps her solve crime. So while we're not eating the brains of our students, we want to understand what's going on in their heads and kind of assess them. And anyway, that's kind of the theme of the book. I use the zombie metaphor because at times we can all feel hopeless with teacher accountability kind of weighing on us and the ever need to evolve and learn new technologies. It can be a little cumbersome in the educational field. So, Teaching Land as a survival guide to make sure that teachers are surviving, they're banding together and forming a community. And additionally, I've augmented the book to personalize it, engage with the readers, and make sure that they are coming away feeling like they can go out and change the world. Next slide. So chapter 1 starts with the rules of Teaching Land, which are essentially adapted and modified from Zombieland. We've got Buckle Up Buttercup, which was seatbelts, and it's all like themed through this educational lens. And all of the images in the book I've augmented to come to life, either with videos of me explaining the rules further, or some sort of prompt or activity to have the teacher kind of think about how to apply that content and reflect on that within their own practice. Let's see. One of the things I wanted to do with this book was, instead of presenting teachers with this monster tech table of apps aligned with strategies they could try, I wanted to actually model it in the book so they could see it in action and see how to integrate and use augmented reality, and give them a replicable application that they could go back tomorrow and use in their classrooms. I chose to do this with AR. This gives them a book they can read, but not only read, also experience action to apply content immediately, and it engages them in an interactive and very personal way. I don't know how many of you have written a book, but typically, or you guys buy books, you buy a book, the author's written it, you read it, but you have no interaction with the author whatsoever. So by inserting myself in the book, they can continually, I can continually coach them and make that personal connection with each of my readers. Next slide. So using Metaverse, an AR platform by GoMeta, I created an HQ trivia style augmented formative for each chapter. So at the end of every chapter, we have kind of like a bunch of questions that are, we call them brain stretchers, to help you kind of wrap your head around the content that you've just consumed. And additionally, there's a QR code. Instead of surface target triggers, you access AR experiences by scanning the QR code with either your camera, which launches the Metaverse app, and it really brings the book alive. It brings learning to life, which is the whole metaphor that I'm trying to drive home with the zombie theme. We're in a society where the great and grown assembly line has kind of hammered out the thrill of learning, and it goes for teachers too. So this could also be kind of like a train the trainer session, in the sense that I'm trying to leverage this technology to not only engage the readers with the content, but also show them how they can use it in their classroom as well. So reaching them on a personal level allows me to coach them through the book. These are the different challenges that I've created. There are 9. Chapter 9 does not have a AR formative that I've designed. Instead, I prompt them to create their own for their students, or either on some content in teaching land. So chapter 4 is Down with OPP. I'm a big music buff. OPP is not other people's property in this sense, but old pedagogy players. So becoming part of the Walking Dead tribe. I present augmented playing cards in the book, but also in the AR experience, they're presented with Seymour Papert or Dewey, all these cognitive scientists and those who created these frameworks in education that we're implementing on a daily basis. But understanding the pedagogy behind the framework and being able to apply it appropriately is chapter 4. Chapter 3 is managing the horde. Then I got the control buttons there. It's classroom management. I've got great and grown assembly line. So at the end of each of these formatives that they kind of experience, if you'll go to the next slide, they also get to earn digital badges. And this is an example of what the platform looks like on the inside. So this is very doable for teachers. There's no involved. It's a platform that allows you to come in and build out experiences. They've got a ton of experiences that already exist that you can clone and customize. And next. So I've gamified some of these experiences with a HQ style trivia. So I've got my voice in there. I've actually animated my my cover avatar using Adobe Character Animator and After Effects. So when you scan it, it actually looks like my character comes to life. All of this I've kind of self-taught myself. So if you guys know any better ways to do that, I'm all ears. But these are the badges that I've created. So within the Metaverse app, as you go through and you do this quiz, or you have this, not all of it's like a formative quiz, sometimes it's a performance-based task where they're asked to create a video. So once they create a video, submit it to a wall, and everyone who's taken that experience can see all the videos that have been posted by any educator who's kind of gone through that. And then they earn the badge. So they get to collect a badge, and when they collect a badge, the Metaverse app has an inventory. The badge goes to their inventory, and they are prompted to go through all of the experiences and earn all of these badges. And by the end of the book, they have evidence of learning, and I'm working with Mozilla to actually use metadata to tag to each of these as well. So in addition to being something inside of the Metaverse app, it will also function as a digital badge in the real world that they can put in their portfolios of what they've been able to do. So instead of winning money like HP, they're collecting badges. Next slide. The next slide is just a show of what the inventory looks like. So if I go within the app and I look at my inventory, I've earned the parent communication teacher badge, and the parent communication is a flowchart in the book, and I've created the flowchart and I've created scenarios. So as they go through the experience, they're presented with a scenario and they have two options that they can do, and based on what they choose to do, it takes them, it's like a choose your own adventure with parent communication, and they can go through the whole process. If they do something wrong, it sends them back to the beginning. So that's an example of not a formative, but kind of like a different choose your own pathway that it has them situationally based or like a simulation. I have a question here earlier. Next slide. So in the book, I preface with, as technology rapidly evolves, so does augmented reality tools available. So one of the things my publisher asked was, Amanda, how are you going to keep this book relevant? There's the apps and the AR apps are constantly evolving. Blipper just went away, which was one of the apps I was looking at. So I decided to use as many as I could to augment the book and have each app that I choose augment it in a different way. So the apps that I've chosen are Artivive, obviously Metaverse, which is a big chunk of how I've augmented it. But as Charlie Fink said in his book Convergence, this book is out of date. It was out of date the day it was written. Well, sorry, Charlie, I'm kind of stealing those words because our book uses AR technology. It will likely be dated before the ink ever hits the page. But it has not stopped me from using what currently exists. HP Reveal, which is the online studio, is being phased out in July 2019, and the app will continue to be supported. For how long, I don't know. We've also used Thing. So Thing is another app that's similar to HP Reveal. It's not free. It does cost money for educators or for anyone that uses it. But you can add you can add auras or digital content to different trigger images. So if you download the Thing app, you can go through the book and you can scan all the images, and that will bring up one set of AR experiences. If you download the HP Reveal app, it's going to pull up a whole nother bunch of experiences. So I'm modeling 4 different ways to use AR in the book in order to train the trainer, show them how it works, and inspire them to go and use that in their classrooms, while also prompting them to really apply the content that they're reading now. On the website, we direct readers to the most current tools. I'm sure some of these tools will phase out over the next years as AR and VR is constantly evolving. So even though in print it might say I have these, I direct them to the website for the most current ways to experience the book with AR. And I promise to keep the book updated and to continually evolve the offerings. Artivive is actually an app that was recently presented to me by Mike McCready, And it's pretty awesome in the sense that it brings your art to life. The platform is pretty robust. So again, using Adobe Character Animator, each of my chapters has a sequential art piece that kind of opens it. It's a zombie themed book, so I have a comic book theme that's kind of woven in throughout that comically kind of presents the information for each chapter. So using Artivive, Character Animator, and rendering alpha files in After Effects, I plan on making the artwork kind of come to life and talk to the reader. So each of the characters in the sequential art piece. I had a video, next slide, that I was going to show you guys today, but videos aren't rendering. It gives you a view of all the apps in action and the AR experiences that launches from the cover. So immediately when you scan the cover of my book, my avatar here comes to life and starts talking to you. She shakes the iPad at you, telling you what you need to do, what you need to use, and to turn the page to find out more. Next slide. I've used Adobe, like I said, unlocks a new type of digital content. So my kids book is called Zombie a Design Thinker, and using the Merge Cube and the CoSpaces add-on, I've been able to take little Zip the zombie who is dying to go through the design thinking process and teach students all about the modes of design thinking. Well, he has an empathy machine, and as he goes through the process of design thinking, the empathy machine changes from left to right, and he becomes more human as you go through the process. So the Merge Cube, in addition to the book, if you scan it, it brings this experience to life that has audio for kids that kind of makes the book interactive. You can click on it and you can learn about the different modes of design thinking and the design thinking framework. Next slide. For the sake of time, there was also a video that demonstrated the Merge Cube. This is the design thinking framework. I'm going to wrap up and field any questions. Any questions? Yes.
Hi, Amanda. Thank you very much. Alan will be joining us in just a moment. My name is Paul. I have a quick question or two. With regards to gamification, so it looks like a lot of your badges are kind of a flat 2D image. Are you planning at all to perhaps make them into a 3D or interactive image at all?
So the badges are 2D. It would be awesome to turn them into 3D, but right now I'm working with my skill set and my learning curve. So yes, as I pick up those skills, I'll be going back and adding that to it. Within the Metaverse app, there are 3D models and options you can pull in. You can upload your own from Sketchfab. I've been the only person who's built this out, and it's been a very cumbersome process. So yes, as I continue to expand my education with AR VR, I plan to make most of the artifacts 3D.
Okay, it seems like a steep learning curve. And, kudos to you. Sorry, very quick question. You mentioned that you're using Metaverse for your badges, and in the future you'd like to connect with Mozilla. Now, I believe you're going to be using the Open Badges framework
Yes.
for pulling metadata. What is your timeline for doing so? When do you think you'll have that all set up?
So
Are you still there?
Amanda, are you still there?
Oh, I'm sorry, my headset's heating up. I plan on launching a book study in the fall of this year. So by the fall of this year, over the summer, I plan on developing out some more robust features. So all of the AR experiences are
That's great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Does anybody else have any other questions for Amanda?
Hi, I do.
Hi.
Hi, Consuelo Marano, and my question is about your skill set. I'm a graphic designer, and I'm really interested in entering the world of AR. And I have all the skill set on design, but not a lot in, coding, etc. What do you think is the path to learn this stuff, and what is your skill set? Where did you start?
So my skill set as an educator was trying to make these tools accessible for my students. So I started with the Merge Cube is an excellent way to get started. The Merge Cube, there's no coding involved. It's just a consumer level to kind of see what's going on. In terms of actually coding and developing your own experiences, you can actually create 3D models in Tinkercad or Morphe is one that I use with students. So I would say starting anywhere there and developing 3D assets or 3D models. And then with Metaverse, from the beginner all the way to someone who understands JavaScript and script, you can go in and modify and create the most complex metaverse experience that you want to create. So there's something there for everybody. There's balance, and as you grow as a coder or a developer, you will be able to still use the metaverse platform.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions for Amanda? Thank you, Amanda. Thanks for joining us today. I really enjoyed hearing from you. And I know that with your book, I think that's going to be a very valuable resource to the Training the Trainers, which is a conversation we have coming up. And you're welcome to obviously stick around and provide more valuable conversation towards that particular topic. So thank you very much.
Thank you guys. I appreciate the being here.